Item 8.1 is the Barron Micro Abattoir, and I believe Councillor Mathers has a conflict on that in that product, item. So page 26 of the agenda papers. There are two recommendations associated with this. The first one is that the Council accept the $2,209,000 total funding offered through the Growing Local Economies Program, the Droughts Communities Program and the Murray-Darling Basin Economic Development Program, and authorise the CEO and Mayor to sign the funding agreements and apply the Council seal where required. And secondly, to approve proceeding with the Barron Micro Abattoir project. So someone like to move that? Thanks, Councillor Crowe. Seconded. Councillor Wise. Discussion. Councillor Crowe.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that. When I was part of the Swan Hill Farmers Market Committee, we met for about 3 years before we physically had one market because we wanted to have an accredited market, which would mean a very high percentage of accredited stall holders so that our buyers could be confident with the inputs into the produce sold. We also wanted to make sure that we had the governance right and also an understanding of our stall holders and any issues which they were experiencing in their particular field. It was very obvious at the outset that the meat growers were the ones most impacted. Most that come to farmers markets are trying to do a high-end product which incorporates many aspects of good practice with animal husbandry, including the slaughter of their animals. It was not preferable to go to a large regional abattoir where their animals would be stressed and they had concerns about their carcass that they were getting back at the end. When I came back on council, I was very excited to see a local group reach out to Murray River Council Economic Development Team for support to set up a micro abattoir. Some may not know that there is a significant difference in the size and operation of the micro abattoir. It is purposely designed to cater for small numbers where there is much greater control over all aspects of the process, and its footprint on the ground is actually very, very small. The location for the micro abattoir is in a rural zone setting, and the closest homes are at least 650 metres away. Naturally, being a rural zone setting, the housing numbers are very low anyway. It's actually sad in a way that those that have already joined the co-op have had to be burdened with another role in their daily life. It is unfortunate that the service does not already exist, but it does not. It is really a few motivated people getting off their backside and trying to problem solve to provide a service for a gap that exists in our local rural market. The upside of this is that the micro abattoir will provide not only the service they are seeking to have their stock slaughtered, but at the same time will create jobs which will flow back into the local economy. I would also go so far as to say it must provide an emotional benefit to the co-op members, not having to be constantly worried about when the next abattoir is going to shut down and where they will have to go to have their animals slaughtered. I also feel quite confident that some producers that are hanging back will join the co-op once they see the micro abattoir up and running and have confidence in the operation. It is surprising how many different types of animals are being grown in numbers for consumption. Our staff have done a very large amount of work to find funding streams to assist this project, which ticks every box in terms of economic and social benefit to our local area, particularly when we have and still remain very impacted by the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, and the last 2 years we have had zero allocation on general security water. All of the funding for the project is grant funding, and if it was not awarded to our local projects, it would go out of our area, leaving us with no economic benefit. So I am a very keen supporter of this project.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. Is there someone who'd like to speak against the motion? Further speakers for the motion? Councillor Warrich.
Mr Mayor, I have some serious concerns about this. Councillor Crowe has just indicated that the nearest house is 650 metres away. I've been receiving phone calls from people who tell me they live 300 metres away.
It's not the case.
Well, I haven't been there to see it, but what I've been told, and as Councillor Wise correctly stated at the last meeting, that squealing pigs at all hours of the day and night is probably not the best place to have a micro abattoir. I'm also concerned about governance. I'm concerned about ownership. I'm concerned about, are we able to make a profit off of grant money? Is that something that's allowable? Who's going to be responsible for the payments? Who's going to be responsible for the day-to-day running? This document, well, I've only just had this given to me, 15 minutes ago. I haven't had a chance to read it. And there are lease agreements involved and other things. I'm not saying I'm totally against it, but I have some concerns, and those concerns to me haven't been answered in a satisfactory way. Like, who's paying the work cover? Insurance? Who's paying all that? How are we going to do this?
They're questions that we can direct to Mr. Harvey. So, John, did you get the sense of those questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, Council will own the facility, the 3 demountable buildings, the shed and the yards as well as the land. Council will not have any involvement in the day-to-day operation of the business. That is wholly for Murray Plains Meat Cooperative. They will be responsible for all of those services that they need to conduct their business. As I indicated to some councillors earlier, and I acknowledge that Councillor Weyrich wasn't there, Council will have no responsibility for day-to-day operation nor the maintenance of the facility, including wear and tear. That, according to our lease agreement, will lie with Murray Plains Meat Cooperative. Council will have no expenditure involved in relation to the facility because the lessee will pay all outgoings, all maintenance costs and all operating costs. Council will simply receive the funds from the government to build the facility, manage the project and own the facility for a period of time.
Councillor Weyrich asked the questions relating to workers' comp and insurance and so on.
Yes, Council, thank you for that. Council will not have any employees and therefore will have no responsibility for workers' compensation. Those costs are employee costs that lie with Murray Plains Meat Cooperative.
Same for insurance?
Yes. Same for insurance, all operating costs.
Thank you. Councillor Gorey.
Okay, thank you. Look, I support this project. It will be a major employer, and I think it's for it. And it's all funded. I think pretty well all the boxes have been ticked so far. But there is concerns, and I acknowledge with the adjoining neighbours. But we also, I understand, it's undergoing the environmental impact study or statement, whatever it is, and with that should deal with the concerns of adjoining landholders. And look, I'll be the first one not to support it if it doesn't meet all the criteria as far as environmental concerns, impact on neighbours. But at this stage, we're not quite there yet as far as unless Mr Wilkinson can say otherwise, but I think as a project to attract significant funding and not require an input from council and achieve a lot of jobs, and acknowledge the need for council to play a major part in this role, look, I think it's got a great future, and at this stage I can't see any reason not to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Councillor Campbell.
Yes, I also have concerns, which is no secret, on this facility. Whilst I support it as a private enterprise, I don't support it as a councillor run facility. And I just go back to a press release from Emma Dowling in February 28, 2020, and I think that's the Ganawara Times, but I could stand to be corrected, where there's a few comments in here that concerns me. One was from a councillor that says, I understand why people would be concerned because it doesn't pass the pub test. There's a few things in here that I have issues with. It goes on to say that it would create 3 to 4 new jobs. Well, we've heard today that it's going to create probably 11 in manufacturing and 11 somewhere else in the facility, which that could be correct too. But I'm just concerned about the difference in in the information that we get, and I've been reading the press releases for some time on this and been unable to make a comment due to the commercial in confidence rules that surrounded this. And perhaps you, Mr Mayor, could confirm in this press release it says that it's not a profit-making business, rather a service to farming communities. It's not a private enterprise. The reality is that council won't have a role in running the micro abattoir. Management will be the responsibility of the cooperative. So I'm not sure. And it wouldn't own the land on which it sits, nor would council get the profits. It would lease the building to the cooperative. So I'm just concerned that everything I read in the print media and then what I get from council in my notes, that I seem to have conflicting information. So, you know, I wish the cooperative all the best, but I am concerned whether there's no ratepayers' money involved, it's taxpayers, and every one of us somehow are contributing. So I just have major concerns along with Councillor Wayridge.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Are there any matters in that you'd like to comment on, Mr Harvey?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Mr CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Campbell, for the questions and comments, because sort of not knowing where the sort of the media who actually issued the media releases, etc., unsure of it, and at the time, but the employment numbers are as predicted by our REMPLAN software. So it's a program that the information is actually fed into that, and it feeds out the employment numbers as a result of that. Sort of based on the activity of the micro abattoir. The issues around ownership, etc., are very clear in the report, and will be made extremely clear as part of the lease arrangements associated with it. That council will actually own the facilities initially, and that sort of in a period of time, set at 5 years at this stage, that ownership would then pass on to the Murray River or the Murray Plains Meat Co-op. So as part of that, so that's all documented within, and that's all documented within the funding arrangements and the lease arrangements through there.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Well, I'm not going to go back and forth at this meeting, so the opportunity to speak once is the code of meeting practice. Thanks, Councillor Cowan.
I'd like to speak for this motion. Look, again, like all the councillors, I think we all have some sort of apprehension about perhaps owning the micro abattoir, but at the same time, I attended the plot yesterday. It is a long way from house. It is certainly over 650 metres. The nearest house is actually a person that's not in this room, that is vacated this room. So I suppose if it's going to affect anyone, it's going to affect them. The next one is certainly probably about 800 metres down the road. Tree lines have already been planted. There's a very small footprint, and I just think under our community strategic plan, part of theme 4 is for opportunities of economic growth in agribusiness and associated manufacturing, and this certainly ticks the boxes for that. And from what I saw yesterday, it absolutely does. And these people, as a chef, these people use every part of the animal. It's all about respect. It's all about animal welfare and looking after their products.
Thank you. Councillor Wise?
Yeah, look, I agree with, I understand what you were saying about the 200 or 300 metres. I had the same conversation, probably with the same person, and now I know it's wrong. It is 650 metres, so I think that's the closest. So, and it's a very small footprint. Like, you've got to understand that this is only in an area, I think, I can't remember the exact footprint, 30 metres or something by 20 metres or something.
25 by 40.
How far? 25 by 40
25
metres.
by 40 metres.
It's not a very big structure, Tom. Councillor Wayrick, I'm sorry. I was against it at the start because I just had abattoirs in my mind, and I retracted that after a while, and I've learnt since a lot more about it. And I feel that it's great for Barham, just great. And like 29 producers, there'll be 40 before you know it. I'll be one of them. I'll be one of them. And I've had a lot of comments from people in the rural area going that way, and it's all been good. There's been no bad press about it. So I feel that perhaps we've just been winding ourselves up for not much. And I hope that it does go along. The guy's been in business for 8 years that I spoke to. He's a much smaller setup, less funded. And I feel that he's had to do it on his own bat. And I know that, and I understand what you're saying about community funds going towards some, but this is to get a region going. And I think it's good for it. So.
Okay, that's everybody spoken, I think. Councillor Crowe, do you want to close the debate? Oh, Councillor Quino, sorry, I didn't notice you'd come online. Did you have any comment? No? Councillor Crowe, do you want to close?
He's got no volume.
Well, he's shaking his head. That's what I took to be.
Yeah, I have nothing more to say except I fully support this project.
You want to speak, Tony?
Yeah, sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm not sure which way I want to vote with this one. I hope it works out. I hope there is jobs for people. I am sceptical that it may not work out, but all we can do is hope for the best at the moment. It's gone this far, and that's about all we can hope for right now.
Thank you, Councillor Queen. I apologise. I didn't realise you wanted to speak. I thought you were shaking your head.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Councillor Crowe, you've closed it. I'll put this to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried. Thank you.
Can I have a division, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Those against are Councillor Wayrich and Councillor Campbell. No others? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Item 8.2 is